Hello, hello, everyone. We are live for Positive Talk 188. This is crazy. Thankfully, we're able to go live this time with no complications. Hopefully, all of you have been having a great week. It is Friday, which means we made it through another week. Woo! Oh, this has been a long week, but I've got so much energy. I almost feel like I want to start doing positive talks at this time of day. I'm trying to not have my hair constantly changing colors during this live because the sun is kind of hitting me in a different way, but it is what it is. I moved my chair as close as I could to the wall to prevent me from constantly popping into the sun. Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I appreciate all the love. Looks like she's about to pop on. Hello!
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of just woke up.
Oh, love it.
How are you?
I'm good. I was about to send you a message last night and say, so are you a morning person? Am I going to need 1,000 cups of coffee to match your energy today?
These are the first words I've said. So I would say if I had maybe a few more minutes, I'd say yes. You're gonna need a few cups of coffee. I'm like my chill-ish self right now.
Perfect. So I think I can keep up with you today.
Oh wait, we never met. So hi.
Hello.
I'm Salisha.
I'm Drummond.
I've never heard anybody with that name ever. That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's actually my middle name, but I absolutely loved it. I switched it over in college because there was 5 Bens in my class. So I was like, you know what? We all switched names. So one person got to keep their first name. I took Drummond. Others took their last names. But you know what?
Wait,
I made it work.
That's awesome. That's literally awesome. Drummond. Hello, Drummond. I've been meeting a couple Salishas here and there, and I'm like,
oh no.
Well, they'll write me on Instagram with my name. I'm like, we got the same name?
Oh gosh, I love that. I actually just launched a ad for my life coaching business, and I had a couple Drummonds reach out to me, and they were like, so I think we need to have a meeting between all the Drummonds because I don't think you get to tell us what Drummond culture is without running it by us first. And I was like, whoops.
Wait, that's awesome. You need to run it by us first because we are also Drummond.
we have to choose. We have to vote on what culture for our name is. So I think I'm gonna have to have a meeting soon with all my Drummond friends.
Wait, that's awesome. I see one of my friends who just popped up on here. Hi, Lamont. What's up? You have 188 episodes.
Yes. It's so exciting. I honestly started this in 2020 thinking that it was going to end right after the elections because I started it to kind of just throw some positivity out on the internet because I was tired of all the angry fighting and negativity. So I was
don't even remind me. It was so bad. It was so bad. I do remember feeling watching the election and just glued to the TV screen, and then somebody posting how all the news anchors are zaddies because we've been watching them for so long.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
I'm glad we're past that time.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly, it's almost like I realized how happy these made me every single day. There are days where I'm just like, oh, it's been a long day. I don't know if I want to do it. Maybe I'll message them and cancel and move it back. And then I'm like, don't do it. And then after the positive talk, I'm like, yes, best day ever. Let's go.
Let's go. That's great. That's so great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yours because I know that you also do very similar stuff.
Yeah, for a similar-ish reason. Okay, hi guys. I'm Salish. Well, Salisha, but I call myself Salish. I'm living here in New York City. I'm from California. Oh gosh. You think I've done like a million intros that I would never introduce myself. I went to Cal State Fullerton in college, majored in musical theater, switched to just a regular BA in theater, worked at Disneyland as a vocalist. I love Disneyland!
Love it.
And then I graduated early, like literally barely graduated from college, like barely. But I did it, and I did it early. And then I got my equity card, and then I moved to New York City. And then the week I moved to New York City, I got this national tour called Beautiful, the Carole King musical. And I went on tour for 2 years. This is literally just the highlights because there were so many low points in this. But I toured for a couple of years, saved up, moved to New York City, like left the tour, made my Broadway debut in Beautiful, and then was in that show until it closed. And I was so sad. They literally had to drag me out the building. I was like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And, they said, yes, you are. So we left. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what is unemployment? Little did I know what was about to happen. Booked the Britney Spears musical, was like, yay, we're back in the game. 11 days into rehearsal, and like, what the heck is COVID-19? I was still eating in restaurants and was wondering why it was empty. Like, the waitress was like, I'm cleaning off your table, see? And I'm like, thank you. In a different reality. And then realizing, oh, people are dying in these streets. Like, it was bad. Are you in New York, Drummond?
I am in Virginia, but I have a lot of friends in New York.
Okay. It was like an apocalyptic movie. And it was really scary. And then during that time, I was like, this is not okay. Like, I chose to live by myself in my apartment because I'm always around people. And I like the balance, the contrast. Like, all day, I go out, I spend my energy, I soak people in, I give of my soul, and then I come home, and it's quiet, and we're good. But during the pandemic, I'm like,
Yes.
it's just me. It's just me. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I left the apartment 2 hours a day for a walk. So 22 hours in my studio apartment. I'm like, this is not okay. How can I feel connected again? And so I had bought like a huge, like a big old sound system set up so that I could like get signed with a voiceover agent, because this guy was like, oh yeah, you have a great sound, I want to sign you, blah, 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 blah. I was like, great, buy all this equipment. And then he was like, wait, send me another sample. He was like, yeah, never mind. I'm like, what the heck, man? What am I gonna do with all this stuff? And so I didn't say that to him, but I was like, you know what? This microphone is so bomb. I'm gonna start a podcast. And that gave me an excuse to like reach out to my friends from shows and like have like dressing room conversations and connect like one-on-one. And that, because that's what feeds my soul, is like a good one-on-one, and feeling connected again was really what I needed during the pandemic. And I was like surprised that other people were listening too. Like, you know, I'm like, what can I talk about all day? Hair. And so I started a podcast. And then 19 months later, it's called Black Hair in the Big Leagues. And then 19 months later, I was able to go back to work and actually do the Britney Spears musical. And I just did that in DC. We're hoping for a Broadway theater. And now here we are. I'm sitting with a man named Drummond. So
I absolutely love it. And I love that you're kind of like, this is a highlight reel, because I feel like that's what everyone sees is our highlight reels, and they see us full of energy. They see us smiling in our pictures, but there's still a lot, because like I've had so many people like, of course it's easy for you to smile. Your life is perfect. You literally have offer after offer. I'm like, oh, there's big gaps in between where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to happen.
Offer after offer.
If you only knew.
If you only knew. Like, seriously, I feel it's mostly no's. It's mostly rejection. It's mostly all of that icky in between stuff.
Yeah. So how do you keep that energy that like you could sit there and still smile and say it's mostly no's?
Well, you know, I feel like over time, the more I feel like the more I put myself out there, I already know I'm gonna get more no's because I'm putting myself out there more. Like just mathematically, like just looking at numbers. Like I remember when I lived out like in LA, the LA area, I had a couple of auditions every now and then. And it's like, oh, cool, got a call back. Oh, didn't get this one, but there was only 2 auditions in the month. Then I moved to New York City and I have friends who are going to 3 auditions in a day.
Oh, wow.
Right? I'm like, what's that life? And if you do that, you're gonna get more no's because you're doing more things that, and so I'm like, you know what, but that's what it's about. And you can, like, it's not personal. If you want to have more like high points, you have to give yourself the opportunity to have those high points. Like I moved to New York City and I'm like, you know what, I might suck. I might fail, but I've always wanted to move to New York. I've always wanted to be here. And every time I came out here, I felt a lightness. And I'm like, well, if I don't go, I'll have no idea. I just won't know what that was. And so I just like took a risk and it worked out. In fact, like aside from like actually getting work, moving here, Drummond, I felt like peace for the first time in a long time. And I thought I had peace. I thought I was happy in California. But when I got here, I was like, oh, what have I been doing? So I'm like, I think, and also being, what's the word? Um, like on purpose. What is the word? When, when you look for gratitude on purpose.
Yeah.
Especially like during this time, like our world like kind of sucks sometimes. Like I say sometimes during 2020, like that was horrible.
Yeah.
I was so stressed. And now I can look back and if I want to, I can glamorize that alone time that I had. But I remember what it was when I was there. It was so scary. But I feel like when I'm an introvert, extrovert, when I share my experiences with others, it feels so much easier to like when I feel like I'm not alone. It feels easier to like, I don't know, like have a light and share a light because it's like, oh wait, it's not just me going through. Like I was going to therapy and even my therapist was like, it's because I would always check in on him. I'm like, how are you? He's like, you know, I've never had a time when everybody's going through the same thing, including me. I'm like, are you okay? Like, like we're all in this together, like being my therapist. Like, I don't know. I just feel like when you reach out to people, like especially like when you're going through something and not shutting yourself away, you can connect with others and realize we are all in this together.
Yeah. And I think that like when you were talking about just the feeling you got when you moved to New York City, I think that that is the feeling that people get when they actually do what they really are thinking they want to try. Like there are so many people who are like, you know, I would love to like record music, and they're like, I would love to, I would like to in the future, maybe sometime, and then it kind of passes them by, and then there's that regret. But it's like if you step into it, and even if you fail, your brain no longer has that, what if I did that? What if I had so much fun? You were just like, I'm doing it. And your body was like, you did it. Let's go. Let's try this. No matter what, even if it's not the best, you did it. Let's go.
Totally. And that's the thing. It's like, it's so I feel like I want to always do things the right way. But if you're waiting for things to be perfect, you don't do them. Then you turn on the freaking TV and watch Tiger King or some stupid stuff, and you're like, what?
Oh,
If I just finished that project, like, it's okay if it's bad. People do bad stuff all the time and put it on Netflix or put it on Apple. And guess what? We listen to it.
yeah.
And we watch it. We read it all the time. So why can't I do bad stuff? And you know what? and there's always the possibility that what you're doing is actually not bad. What if you're actually producing quality content? Like, but you will never know if you don't give yourself the chance, like if you don't finish your project and have the courage to share it or have the courage to fail. Like, so many people can benefit from what you have to offer. And sometimes I think about things that I want to start and I'm like, oh, so-and-so is already doing that. Oh, that's already been done. Okay, so me and my boyfriend, I love him so much. His name is Andrew Weiss. He moved to New York City during this pandemic for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, why do you love me that much? This is so crazy. I love you that much that I'm letting you move into my space. Like, what is going on? And he was like, he loves doing things like New York things and adventurous things. And we went to like this Italian street festival. And it was just like a big old, like, downtown. It was super cool. And we're going to each booth, whatever. And I'm looking at the food and I'm just taking mental notes. Like, everyone is selling all the same food. We've got pizza. We've got these awesome sausage sandwiches. And we've got like something else. Like, everyone was selling the same type of things. I'm like, nothing stopped them from being like, oh, somebody already sells pizza. How can we also sell pizza? There were like 35 pizza places. That I might be lowballing that number. Like, just freaking do it. You probably got a little twist that somebody else doesn't have anyway, because we're all so different. We can all do the same thing and it will come out different ways. There are some questions that I will ask all my guests and everybody answers completely different.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. Like, we're all so unique and different, and that means that the people that like us will all be unique and different to our styles of things. And just starting something, like, I think that one of the things that a lot of people will do is get in their head and spend so much time creating and planning something to start. But guess what? All those plans will mean nothing when you start and something comes up that wasn't planned, and you're going to have to pivot and shift anyway. So it's better to just get in there and learn what it's about, fail as many times as you need to get you going in a direction. Like, my positive talks have gone so many different directions that I would have never suspected at the beginning. But in the river that I'm in now, it's just like, you know what, rock, you know what, bank, tree, let's go. We're still doing it.
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, I totally feel all of that.
So I know that I talked about this in one of my other lives, but do you know the story about the woman who created the Spanx for women?
Like, is it Spanx the leggings brand or Spanx like to hold it all in?
To hold it all in. She talked about how when she was little, her dad actually told, like, they celebrated her failures. So he would send her out every day, and then at dinner they would have like a discussion to celebrate failures. So he instilled on her to go out into the world and just try tons of things, and then they would celebrate together. And I think that that's something that I wish everyone would do, because one, it's attaching a positive.
I just lost your audio. Come back. Oh, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, keep going.
Sorry
Celebrating
about that.
failures. Hi, Josie.
Yeah.
I love you.
So she's celebrating failures. So, and because she wanted to have something to celebrate at the end of the day, she would just try tons of new things so that she could come home and celebrate not being able to do something perfectly.
Dude, I love that. I've never heard that story. And I feel like she would just try something so that she had something to celebrate at the end of the day. A failure to celebrate. It's like when you put yourself out there, you just never know. Like, what if you get like a thing? Like, I finished writing a book, which will truly never see the light of day. I've already decided that. I will have to change a lot of it to protect people, but all the things. I finished writing a book during the pandemic, and I started submitting it to publishing agents. And I was so excited whenever I'd get a letter that said, read the thing that you sent. It's actually very good, or like, but it's just not for me, or I was like, they read it? Like, this is so cool. And they'd be like, saw you in beautiful. It was, you know, like, they would give me like a personal note, and it was a rejection, but I'm like, I have never written a book. They actually read the thing that I sent them. Like, that's so cool, which means like one day, what if I just keep trying? What if I keep doing that? Like, I tell this story sometimes, like how I wanted to sing the national anthem at a professional game. And I just like recorded myself singing into my phone, and then I sent it off to a bunch of teams. And everybody said no, except my favorite team, the San Francisco Giants. And they were like, can you sing for opening weekend SF Giants versus the Dodgers at AT&T Park? I'm like, yes, that's our biggest rival opening freaking weekend on the grass. Yeah, and guess what? Nobody cares that the 49ers said no. Nobody cares that all these other teams were like, sorry, no thanks. All they saw was, I'm singing at this game. But like, but you can't get bogged down in those failures. Like, let it happen so that you have a chance. Like,
Yeah.
and so I'm guessing the Spanx girl, like, eventually she was like, all right, well, I got this idea, but like, I don't know, like this control top. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she full force believed in her product and what she was doing, because she got so many no's. And then she went to speak to the person. Like, she's like, I don't want to do just a phone call. I want to meet you in person, even if it's in the parking garage as you're walking like out of the office at the end of the night. She's like, I want you to see this product. And she could see the disinterest in the person that she was pitching it to. And she's like, come with me to the bathroom real quick. And she's like, I know that that's a really weird request, but she actually did it. And she's like, all I had to do was like, this is me before without them. And then she goes into the stall, comes out, and she's like, what do you think? And the woman's like, okay, I'm going to give you a couple stores. And so she flew to every store they put it in. And because they were putting it in the like section of the store that no one goes to. Like, women don't like purposely go there unless they specifically need something. And she was like putting up signs in the store. She was walking women from the shoes over to that section. And they're like, oh, this woman's crazy. We might need to kick her out of the store. She's like harassing customers. But then they saw the numbers and how much she was selling. So she believed in herself so much that she was like on the border of getting kicked out of locations. Whoa. And now she's like $1 billion company.
Wow. I'm like thinking of my friends who I've seen do that, and those are like one of my friends, like watching him, like his ascension to stardom. He would do stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I guess that's like a thing.
It's the people that succeed are the ones who really want to succeed, and they really want it, and they know that there's a spot for them there, and they just have to get there. It's not asking for a spot. It's, there's my spot over there. I've just got to get there. Excuse me.
Right? I have a question for you. What do you think about, because I just read this in like some habits book or something that I'm reading right now. I have no idea what the name of it is. It's like a long title, but it's a really great book. What do you think about, like, I read that Jeff Bezos, when he was like starting all the things, he would take off 2 days to just walk around like mindlessly and just talk to people and like see what's up and think. Like, what do you think about having time aside from like being super hyper productive and trying to build your empire to do like almost like a day of nothing? But it's not nothing. It's like,
Yeah. I mean,
intentional.
I think that's like connecting with people. Like he's literally out there. He needs to know his audience that he's connecting to. Like his customers have to connect with him as a person. Because I think sometimes we get so in our own worlds that we forget. It's like if you're only in the world of performers, all you will see is competition, and you won't see the audience that appreciates all the hard work that you have put out into this world. So it's like, yeah, it's great to be backstage and be like butting heads with all your competition and like cheering each other on and just being in that world. But then it's like, if you never got to appreciate the people who appreciate your art, would it be worth it at the end of the day?
I'm like, I love that. I think I need to like set aside more time. It's like reading a bunch of books back to back to back, which is great. But if I don't have time to reflect on what I just read, like I just need that moment of, okay, productive and chill for a second. And I think that chapter that I was on was mostly like talking about how during our times of transition, we go to our phone because it's just right there and it's convenient and it feels like we're doing something. But like back in the day when we didn't have computers in our hand, during times of transition, we wouldn't have like something to do right away. We would just have like ourselves. And that's when we can get ideas. That's when we can think, when we can be hit with inspiration. And those times now are like fewer and they're far in between, because we're all those times where we could be like hit with an idea. It's easy to just go to our phone and like distract ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that because I just moved here to Richmond during the pandemic. So I'm new to the area and don't have tons of connections here. And I realized that I was trying to make connections through my phone because one, we're in a pandemic. Two, I don't know where to go because I moved here to be a life coach. I work from my home. So it's not like I have coworkers that I can be like, oh, what are you guys doing tonight? So I realized just going out and running and seeing other human beings that do the same thing and just walking around the city and how many just natural conversations happen. Like I'm a shyer person until someone starts talking to me. Like I will usually not be the first person to just walk up to someone and be like, oh, beautiful day, right? but if someone does it to me, I'll be like, oh my God, yeah, do you see that clown up there? It looks like a bunny.
That's awesome. I would never think that you were shy.
I know, it's crazy. Like that's one of the things, because I've done a lot of YouTube events, and it's funny to meet some of the like YouTubers and how outgoing and energetic they are on screen, and then in person they're kind of shy and reserved. I think I scared this one girl because I saw her perform. I'd seen her on YouTube before with like a ukulele. She like performs these cute little skits. And like I saw her and I went running up to her and I was like, oh my God, can I get a picture? She looked so terrified. I was like, I am so sorry. I was like, I was just excited to see you. I didn't even think about like how, because I'm 6'1", how that probably looked to
You're
her.
so tall. Yeah, like I totally feel that too. I'm like, sometimes I'll reach out, like I'll DM people who I want on my show. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm sure this person is so extroverted, and they get on my show and they're like so shy. I'm like, wait, what? You've got an entire Instagram personality? They're like, well, yeah, but it's just me and my computer. It's just like me and like the camera. There's no one actually around me. I'm like, oh, that's so, it's so real. Uh, Please tell
Yeah.
the VidCon. What's the VidCon story?
Oh, so I was actually at one of the events, and one of my favorite YouTubers, he was in front of me at the Starbucks, and I was too shy to walk up to him and actually say anything, so I just kind of like did the awkward like taking a picture with my
No,
phone.
no, don't
And,
run right behind him. Please tell me
and
the flash went off. What happened?
so later he did a panel, and they did like they got to stand at the door and you could walk up and talk to them. And I just walked up to him and I was like, so I just wanted to say I love your stuff. I saw you earlier at Starbucks and didn't say hi. I'm glad I got to say hi. And he's like, oh, you should have said hi. We could have hung out for a little bit. And he's like, why didn't you say hi? And like I put my fingers together and I was like, I'm shy.
Nope.
And like we all had like fangirl moments at those events, and like we made fun of each other like hardcore. Like one of my friends, Eddie, like he saw one of his favorite people and he like deepened his voice. He was like, hey, how are you? we just we made fun of each other the entire weekend.
Oh, I think that's so funny. I'm sorry. I think about a lot of things, and I, I feel like in the Broadway community, I'm always meeting people who I like think are so cool, or like who I like knew about in college or like studied or whatever, and then meeting them in person, like I totally fangirl. And I was thinking about like, do I have to? Is there a world where I grow up and I play the cool kid, like I'm used to this, and like of course yes I belong here, or is there like a world where it's okay to fangirl, like,
Yeah.
because
I feel like I feel like all celebrities have those moments. Like even like people so well known in Hollywood will meet an upcoming rising star and still fangirl over the fact that they're physically standing next to someone that has always been in photos or on album covers or on a
right?
stage hundreds of yards away. I think that that just never goes away, because I don't think you ever hit a moment where you're just like, I'm the shit and like everyone bow down to me. Like I think that at some point we all like have those moments. Like even Beyonce has a moment where when she meets certain people that her mind had convinced her are out of reach, it's just like, thank you. Thank you, universe, for sending this person into my life.
Yeah, I think like it's so easy to like show us being like very put together and perfect and to just be cool, but I personally feel like the coolest people I meet are the ones who are the most transparent. And like Andrew, my boyfriend, I think he's so hot. I'm like, sometimes I'll look at him across the room and I'm just like, how is he so hot? Because I don't like to date Brad Pitts. I don't like that. And now I am right now. And but if you talk to him, I'm like, ha ha, there's a nerd in there. Like, and that's really what attracted me to him, not like what he looks like. And I just find that like a really likable when somebody is just like truly like their childhood selves,
Yeah.
just being themselves. And that's most of my friends. They've got a little bit of that in them, and I just love them for it. And I don't know. I think as I keep growing, I want to make sure that I don't know. I never really was the cool kid growing up, but
Me
were
either.
you?
No, not at all.
Really?
Like
I feel like, but you're so tall and all the things. Like,
I was tall, lanky, and so scared of the world that like I made zero eye contact with anyone. Like walking through school, like I was like, oh God, people are looking at me. Please don't look at me. So
wait, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Virginia. So
Oh,
I was in the middle of nowhere in Amherst County. So very small. I definitely wasn't out and proud in high school. And I think even when I was out in college, I was still very, I'm gay, but that no one needs to really know this. But like now I'm just like, I'm me and hello, how are you?
Right. Right.
But I honestly feel like what you're talking about, like with your boyfriend and with your friends, when I learned to let my walls down and let people see that I love Pokemon, I'm a huge book nerd, I love hiking, I literally will nerd out to Lord of the Rings and all these different things. When I started celebrating those things about myself instead of thinking that was something that would make people not like me,
Yeah.
that's when I started getting friends that I connected with on such a deep level that I did feel like I was loved by the people surrounding me
This.
versus all these people that would stand around me around the fake shield that I created for myself. I had people around me, but I didn't feel connected.
See? This right here. It's like when we are our truest selves, we attract the people who want that, who like that. And you close your eyes and you open your eyes one day and you're surrounded by love. Because guess what? You showed up as
Yeah.
you. And then when you show up as your fake self, you're surrounded by fake.
Yeah. It's funny because like I just took a seminar this past weekend and it was intense. Like recovery from that was, it's still in progress, but one of the things that I learned was the walls that we put up to protect ourselves, because even when we're authentic and share parts of ourselves, there's still some walls that we hide behind because there's little parts of us that we want to protect that we're scared to share, whether it's from past heartbreaks or traumas that have happened. And one of the activities that we did was just we told a story and then people let us know how they experienced us in that moment. And the words that got used were things I feel like I've been running from my whole life. I like they said judgmental, they said conceited, and I was just like, is that really what people see when they look at me? And then throughout the seminar, we were letting walls down. And then they really did start to say the things that I've always known I was, but no one could see because I had walls here. And the words conceited, judgmental were on the outside of the walls. So on the inside, I was this sweet, wanting to be loved person. But on the outside, I still had some walls that came across as conceited, judgmental. And it was really just me putting those there for safety. But once they came down, like it was an intense experience, but 100% would want to be the type of person that shows up as authentically as possible, because the people who stick around, then you really know that they love you for everything versus do they really love me just because of this, or would they love me if I took this one down?
Seriously. You know, I have my list of friends. I love that story, Drummond. I have my list of friends, like my ride or die friends, and I call it my A list. And it's unofficial, like it's off the record. I don't like post it on Facebook, and I can't believe I'm
Your MySpace page. You're my top friends.
My top 8. Seriously, it's my private, unofficial, like top 20. And if my friends are on, if you're on that list, like those are the people who, because I'm bad at texting back. I'm bad at calling. I'm bad at answering the phone. But if somebody from that top 20 calls me or texts me or needs something, a small favor or a huge, big, inconvenient favor, if any of that, I'm like, it's done. I'll answer. I'll text back. I'll get it done. I'll fly there. I'll take off from work. I hate taking off from work. When I'm working, I love working. But if one of my top 20 A-list asks me for something, I'm like, I'm there. But before I made that list, I remember like looking out at the world and being like, do I have any friends? Like I was on tour and we were in like Chicago. It was like 5 degrees and everyone was cold and tired and in their own bubbles. And I was like, I miss my friends. I miss my family. do I have, like, where are my best friends? And I made a list. I was like, oh, wait, these are people who care about me, and they're spread out throughout the country. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like they're in my immediate, but they're there and they're just a phone call away. And it kind of switched my outlook on life. Like, and I switched from trying to get invited to the party to, oh, I can throw the party.
Exactly.
I have my people. And if I'm not invited to somebody else's party, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my people, or like, these are my people. I'd like to like find those people and to love them and to cherish them, because like, they're the ones who see you. Those are the ones who you can like let all of those walls down, and they see you and they love you and they'll support you. And
yeah. I definitely have those people as well. And one of the things that really hit me and kind of got me to notice that was I made a Facebook post when I was feeling very low and very lonely. And I just made a statement about how, like, I feel so alone and like no one cares. And like, one of my friends sent me a private message and they're like, I feel very like attacked and offended that you would share something like that. And they're like, you never reach out to me and ask for help. And it made me realize that first you have to tell people that you need it. You can't just post something and say no one cares, because I have lots of people in my life. And I think it comes from the trauma of, I had a birthday when I was little, invited 50 people and no one showed up. So like, in my head, when depression starts to sink in, that little boy starts telling me, no one cares about you. No one, like, you don't have any friends. But I have not had a birthday since college where either they didn't throw it for me, or like, I threw the party and so many people showed up that I was not expecting. And I was like, why can't you get over that thought? And it's like, you know what? You have to tell people when you need help. Like, you have to ask people. And since then, like, wow. I've just been like, hey, I'm having a rough day. And I do have friends who are like, I'm at work, give me 5 minutes, I'll take my lunch break and we can have this conversation. And I'm like, thank you. Like, they don't have to do that, but our friendship means so much to them. And I would do the same thing for them. Like, and that is important. But sometimes we get so in our heads and we don't ask for help. And then we allow ourselves to really feel, I don't have any friends, which is not true.
And then once you're in that headspace, once you're in that dark hole, so many other voices can get in there. Oh, no. Like, you got like, no. Oh my gosh. I relate to that story so much that you just told. That something happened. I forgot what it was. But something did. And I reached out to like my close friends, and everybody was busy at the same time. Doesn't mean they don't love me, but nobody was answering. I'm like, I need somebody right now, like right now. And I was not thinking. Well, actually, I'm glad that I did this so that I knew what would happen, but I did not do this on purpose. I posted on Facebook and I was like, I really need a friend right now. And something happened, blah, 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 blah. Drummond. People were blowing me up. They were terrified. I was like, what did I post? What did I say? Everybody is very concerned and very like, what do I need right now? I'm like, okay, so I am loved. Do not scare all of your Facebook friends again. Especially if it's not an actual emergency. But knowing that like, people are there if you help them, if you let them know. But that's scary though.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had a moment like that as well, where I literally like checked the internet to see if Verizon's phone towers were down because I text so many people trying to like find someone that could be there for me through a hard time, and no one responded. And I was like, the phone towers must be down.
The
There's
phone
no way.
towers must be broken.
I text 20 people. There's no way 20 people aren't available right now.
At the same time, like, what is happening? Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
that's like, that's half the battle, is just like being brave enough to say, like, I need it right now. And I honestly, during 2020, like, that was a really rough year for me for every reason in the world that was happening, plus all the things that were on my plate. And the month before my birthday, I was just like, this is really rough. And I went through and deleted everyone that wasn't like a close connection on my Facebook and made it a very private space that's really just the people I love and care about. And I was just like, I'm having a rough year and it seems to just be on the decline. And I was like, I know that we're supposed to be social distancing and doing this whole, all the negative things like working hard and not getting to talk to people. There was no positives that I normally use to kind of cheer myself up after a bad day. It was just, you know what, let's just go to sleep. And I lived on a 1,200-acre farm. So I was like, I'm going to throw my birthday party. And the amount of people that showed up.
A 1,200-acre farm?
Yes, it's beautiful. Still belongs to my family. But I threw that party and literally it was the most beautiful thing in the world because people showed up from every part of my life story. None of these people really knew each other. I had high school people, I had college people, I had work people from all different jobs, all different like states that I've lived in. And it was the most beautiful moment in the world for me because we were all kind of separated in different groups. Like there was a bonfire, there was like a beer pong table, there was food inside, there was movies for people who had kids. And every group I was walking around, because I was afraid I was going to have tons of people who wanted me time. And I was just like, this is a lot of people for me to have to talk to. But every group of people, like, and it switched throughout the day. So like the people who were talking to these before switched to another group, and it just became this group of people. And I realized that I'm projecting such a energy that everywhere I go, it pulls in the exact same type of people, just the people from that space. And when they all came together, it was like we've been friends for years and years. And hearing all the things that they remembered, like people were talking about things I'd done for them that really were important, that really bonded us as friends. And then they're like, oh my God, he did something similar for me. And I was like, half the night, I was just sitting there like crying with how much love and appreciation people had. Because for the longest time, I just felt like I was the person who gave and gave and gave and gave. And I was just like, all these beautiful people, like, also gave so much for me. I was like, this is a beautiful moment. And I needed that because it literally reset me instantly. And I was just like at 100%. I was probably way past 100%, but it was such a beautiful moment.
I wish I could have seen that. This sounds epic. It sounds like an epic.
It was beautiful. And I've already seen some of the people from there pop up in the chat today. So love you all.
You know, I think it really does attest to like, this might be summing that up way too simply because maybe it's not this at all. But I do think there is like a world where like what you look for, you'll find. And how you start your day kind of like will help determine the trajectory of your day. But
Yeah.
like when you're looking for love, it's like, wow, it is really all around me. And also like the opposite is true. It's like when you're like, everybody hates me, even though that's not true, like, but you can find reasons to make that true as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the power of our minds are so, they're so powerful, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And gosh, I'm sorry, like literally in the back of my mind, and I think about her every single day, and I try not to talk about her in every conversation, but I can't help it. There was a girl named Chesley who was our Miss USA, and I looked up to her so much. Like Drummond, she was perfect. Like she's perfect. Like when I grow up, I want to be her, even though we were the same age. And she just like, she's a Black girl with this gorgeous, like natural hair, a mane. Like it went down to her freaking knees if she were to straighten it. Like it was curly and it went all the way down her back. And she had the best six pack and the best, like I look at her and I'm just like, she's perfect. And she's got all these opportunities, and she was like a lawyer, but she didn't feel like being a lawyer. So then she was a correspondent on Extra and like doing all these things. And to me, I'm like, there is not a more perfect life. Like she's gonna give Beyonce a running for her money. And she just like freaking jumped from a building in New York City like a week ago. Like, and it just, to me, like that, our minds, what we feed our minds is really important. We need to, like, we have to take care of our inner, of our minds.
Yeah.
What we feed it is so important. And I just like there are people who, like, I see, you can see this in the movies or like on documentaries, like they can be friggin' poor AF and happy,
Yeah.
surrounded by love. And you can see these rich people who are not. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, it seems like it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much success you have, how much clout you have, how famous you are. If you have everything in the world, but you're not taking care of your heart or feeding your mind, like the positive, like the love. I think it's all about love, honestly. Like what it needs, like, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, something that I learned during the seminar that I just attended, and it was something that blew my mind, is all events in our life are neutral and we get to attach the meaning to it. So that's why one person can be so thankful for an avocado and someone else just throws it in the cart and it's just like, that's breakfast for tomorrow. And it's one person can literally hold a kitten and just be so excited, and someone else can just toss it aside, because kittens aren't love and happiness. Kittens are just neutral, and we get to attach whatever we want to it. And there are some people who have been taught to attach love and happiness to something, and then some that don't. Some attach the word success to money, others do not. Some attach love and happiness to it. We all get to pick, and that's with every single thing. Every single moment, every single friendship, everything in this universe, we get each to individually choose what words we want to attach to each of those.
So, like, here's the tough part. The media is funneling information at us, telling us this is good, this is bad, this is what you should want, this is what you should avoid. So if you are in this is what you should avoid, but you're happy, it feels like, do I have, but if you have, but also the opposite, like if you have everything that the media is like, you should have this, and you don't feel like happy, it feels like something's not, there's like a disconnect. And that is what you're saying is so real. Like, we get to attach the meaning, but it's so easy to feel like, well, no, this, like, I have a friend who hates being on Broadway. She hates it. Drummond, she hates it. She loves being on cruise ships. She loves performing on cruise ships. She hates performing on Broadway. But the industry will tell you that cruise ships are here, Broadway's here. You want to get to Broadway. But she's like, I'm so much happier on the ship. Making still good money. Like, it's not like, but she's like, I feel like it's a step back. I'm like, girl, if you are depressed or miserable on Broadway, get up and go find the boat. Get on the boat. Like, who cares? And the pandemic gave her the opportunity to be like, well, Broadway's closed and the ship is here. And so she got to do that. I'm like, I'm like happy for her, but it's so easy to be like, well, this is what I should want. But you're right. We get to attach. Like,
it's so bad because, like, if you think about what runs media, it's corporate America, corporate offices that are selling us things that they have to sell that image to us so that we'll buy their product. That's what they do. But the thing is, like, do you really feel happy with any of the things that they're pitching? And the truth is no. Like, yeah, there are certain things that you can attach happiness to. For me personally, it's not the things that I've bought for the people. It's the experience that comes with those things that I've purchased. So the ultimate purchase goal for me is the experience that I get to have with that person. But then I realized that some of those experiences don't require a purchase at all. It's just the time that you spend with people. It's the love that you give those people. Because I have yet had a person tell me, like, oh, this specific thing brings so much happiness. The experience itself is, you bought this for me. So the experience of having this, knowing that your love is attached to the purchase, is the reason I love this thing so much. And people have to kind of step back and kind of realize that that's where those thoughts are coming from. And it's not so much the purchase or the item itself, because you could get someone like $1 something versus $100 thing, and it still has that meaning of, this person got this for me. It makes me feel loved in this moment. And that's what you've attached to it. And if you've attached, oh, this person didn't spend $100, so therefore they must not love me that much, you attach that meaning to that neutral event in your life and destroyed a moment that could have been beautiful because there was love attached to it. That person showed you attention and wanted you to know that you're special.
wow. That is, yeah, I agree with Michael John Peterson. So true. So true. That's probably something that I'm probably going to like think about throughout this day, is attaching meaning to stuff. Yeah. I I am about to turn 30. And like you say, attaching meaning. For some people that could be like, oh no. Like, literally, I'm telling everybody. And I told the grocery store person, and they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's all downhill from here. And then he got passionate. He was like, I'm so serious. It is all downhill from here. I was like, get away from me.
Have you seen J-Lo?
Have you seen J-Lo? Like, seriously. And you know, since I was little, like, I've always wanted to be 32. I am so excited. Like, in my 20s, people would ask me how old I am. And I've always felt like I was in my 30s. So I'm like, oh my gosh, 24. I'm 24. Feeling like I was in my 30s. And I'm really excited about it. My birthday is coming up this Sunday after Super Bowl. For those who don't know, like, people like Super Bowl, on the 20th. So I'm excited about that.
And you're doing something special, right, for your birthday?
Yes. I'm throwing a concert. It's very in the spirit of like, hey, come to my birthday and watch me on stage. Like, I'm just doing an hour. That. I'm going to do an hour-long concert, and it's in person. I hope my friends come. so I can hug people, you know, like I'm not in a show right now. I hope that the Britney Spears musical, I hope it goes to Broadway. But right now I'm like not. And so I just want to be around people. And so that's happening in Brooklyn. And I'm an uptown girl, so getting me to Brooklyn is I don't know. But and then it's also streaming. So like my family can watch, or my friends, or anybody who wants to. It's 90s themed. So I'm like, I'm a 90s
Oh
baby.
my God, I love it.
I'm so excited. Like, it's so fun. I'm like looking at my wardrobe, my costumes that I'm like putting together for the.
This is perfect.
No, I don't know if you're around, Drummond, but I'd love to.
I'll shoot up to New York. I've got so many people like this past like all these years during this pandemic. I've connected with so many people, and I'm just like, all my online friends are in New York and LA, and I'm just like,
Get
I've
over
got to
here.
get up here.
Get like seriously, get Mark Curian, who is our mutual. He came here. I met him on Instagram Live, just like I'm meeting you. And it's crazy how like something like this can actually, if you want it to, turn into a real life in-person friendship. And it's not ever something that I ever expect, but like Mark came and we had breakfast, and we had breakfast twice, like while in his short trip. It was so fun. And like that's how I met Andrew, on this little device. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's crazy because like I've also like through these positive talks, and I love Mark. I've met so many people after we've done our positive talks in real life, and it felt like I was meeting a long lost friend that I hadn't seen in years. And it's like, it's funny because you don't see how tall someone is, you don't see their full body. So like when you meet them in person, you're like, I know you. It's like we've been friends for centuries, but I've never seen you physically. This is so weird.
It's so
But
weird. Like I don't know if she's still watching, but my friend Kirsten was watching for a little bit on this live, and we met during the pandemic, like doing workouts. Like she would like lead a workout party, and it was exactly what I needed, just to have like a community of ladies and just like working out every day and like sweating. And she moved to New York during this time, and I met her in person. Walked right by her on the sidewalk. She's like 6 feet tall. I was like, what? Like I knew she was a model, but then seeing her in person, I'm like, oh, you're like a model. Oh, it's so weird. She's like, oh, you're 5'4". I'm like, no, she didn't say that, but I'm really short. Like,
oh, I love it.
anyway, yeah.
Well, I see that we come to our hour. I just want to say I absolutely love you and all your energy and everything that you bring to the world. So I'm so glad that you saw my message. It was meant to be.
Thank you. I'm sorry it took so long. Literally, Instagram's playing games because I checked that other folder because I wasn't following you at the time. I checked that other folder regularly, and that one night, a flood of I was like, I didn't see anything 159 weeks ago. I wonder if they're still doing this. And I'm so glad that you are. So thank you for having me. And yeah, it's really nice to meet you, and you're so lovely. And I love DC. And so if I'm ever back down there, I might hit you up like in the DMV.
Yeah, that's like an hour and 40 minutes away from me. So I go up there all the time. I will literally, if I'm having a day where I just need to clear my head, I will drive up to DC, park my car somewhere, and just walk around the monuments because I just love being around those structures.
Me
it's just like
too.
so
It
beautiful.
feels like, I don't know, it feels regal or something. Like it's so cool. And seriously, if you're ever in New York, please like hit me up. And if I know that's random, but if you do happen to be in New York on the 20th, like please come to my show. I would love to meet you.
That's definitely.
I mean, so thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Can I like plug my podcast for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
I got 2 podcasts. Well, I've got 3 unofficial. Black Hair in the Big Leagues, where I talk about hair, and it's a lot of like BIPOC, Black and Brown, like conversations. And that was my journey to like find my own like loving of my own hair, because I didn't for so long. And so I go on that journey in that podcast, and I'm told it's relatable if you'd like to give it a listen. And then my other podcast, The Salisha Show, because Black hair in the big leagues is so niche. Like The Salisha Show is, it opens it up to, it doesn't matter what you look like or what kind of hair you have, whatever. And my season 2 is all about the Britney Spears musical. So it's one-on-one conversations. And my unofficial podcast, which I never talk about because it's so much work, is my Broadway Bible school. And I tell Bible stories, and like you can get through Genesis in like 20 minutes. So I'm not preaching at anybody. I'm really just telling the stories, and it's fun. That's all. That's all.
Yes, and I see Garland posted. Yes, I will be sharing that on my story as well, so people can find you for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of your energy and just being you. And I look forward to meeting you one day. Keep doing everything that you're doing and just keep growing, because your light is going to change so many lives.
Thank you, Drummond.
Keep doing it.
I feel the same way about you. I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
I love you, Sophia. Bye, Drummond.
Bye.